Hello, everybody. It's great to be here one more time today. My name is Gary Fowler. I'm the CEO, president, and founder of GSD Get You Done Venture Studios, a premier EI and quantum venture studio located in the heart of Silicon Valley. I'm a 17-time serial entrepreneur with several unicorns under the belt. I was on the original management team of Click Software, which was sold to Salesforce for $1.35 billion, and also Eva.ai, an AI HR tech company that I co-founded with Dr. David Yang. We believe at GSD that intellectual capacity is evenly spread around the world, but opportunities are not. And today I'd like to introduce my incredible guest. Christian Møller-Holst is a CEO and founder of GoodWings, a groundbreaking travel management platform and a mission to decarbonize business travel. Based in Copenhagen, one of the world's most sustainable cities, Christian and his team are proving that you can combine seamless booking technology with powerful emissions tracking and access to affordable, sustainable aviation fuel. The result? Companies that save time, money, and the planet all at one time. Oh, I love that. From winning the VDR Innovation Award in 2024 to being named by Newsweek as one of the 6 best travel management solutions, GoodWings is making sustainable not just a goal, but a reality. And today we'll explore Christian's journey, the future of sustainable aviation fuel, and how technology and partnerships are transforming the travel industry. With that, I'll bring Christian on board. Hey, Christian, how are you doing today?
Hi, Gary. I'm good. Thank you. And thank you so much for having me on the show.
So you've built GoodWings into one of the most recognized sustainable travel platforms. What's the story behind the company, and what was the aha moment that set you on the path?
Well, the story behind GoodWings is really that you see an industry that makes, there's a lot of money in the industry, but very little of this goes into cleaning up the industry. Coming from previous startups in other industries, what I like is to challenge and innovate on the underlying business model. So that's what we've been doing the past 8 years. So as you can imagine, we existed before COVID. We had 3 troubling years, but COVID also gave us an opportunity to further innovate on our solution and bring us to where we are today. I think, and this is one of the things that I like to talk about is the today's topic. How do you make ClimateTech sell? Because you need to challenge the status quo. You need to understand that this green mega trend does not necessarily translate into demand, or it might show up as demand, but where's the budget? Where's the willingness to pay? Coming from Copenhagen, as you said in your intro, one of the most sustainable capitals, maybe even countries in the world, we take for granted that consumers or businesses out there are looking for ways to improve their environmental footprint. It's not necessarily the same in other parts of the world. So if you have ambitions of not just winning the Danish market, but taking your company global, how do you take that into consideration when designing your solution, even your pricing and your revenue model?
Before GoodWings, you led several other ventures in health consulting. How did these experiences shape your vision for tackling climate impact in the travel sector?
Yeah, well, if I go a little bit further back, I have a background in business and philosophy. And that was after being 3 years in the Danish army. So I use all parts of the brain, so to say. I have the army officer, which is all about execution, and then they have the more philosophical part of myself, which is to question. So what I did in my first company, which was a very data-driven, very preventive B2B health service, we went out with the ambition of actually making sure that you can go to work without burning out or coming in, being part of accidents. It was very much about preventing, physical or mental accidents or burnout. Mm-hmm. We started that in 2006. And that was a very good time because in Northern Europe, Scandinavia, companies were looking into health at the workplace. More I think the same trend was in the US at the time. We didn't look into the US market at that time, but I think it was a global trend. Then came the financial crisis in 2008 and 9. That completely killed anyone who tried to sell a nice-to-have solution. So what I did was I pivoted that previous company into something that companies needed, which was more legally bound by legislation, safety at work. And then we injected health into that. And that was quite successful. And we sold it 3 years later in 2011 to one of the largest consulting companies in Scandinavia.
And so what did you do once you sold it? Did you take some time off?
Well, I had my third son, got married, bought a house. But I also continued to work for the new owners because I wanted to make sure that my team were taken care of in the new larger company, and that the vision of the company that I had built for those 5-6 years actually continued. And it did. They really took it in, and it still lives today. And as I follow my old colleagues on LinkedIn and other platforms, and the concepts that we were building 15 years ago is now winning awards. So the whole idea of being much more data-driven, preventive, and combining health and safety, not looking at silos, but in a integral view. That was a winning formula, and it still is today. And you asked me, what did I learn from that? Well, I learned not to give up, because I started Goodwings, and not long after we were hit by COVID, and we had not reached any significant size, so we suffered severely. But I took it as an opportunity. I totally refused to see it as an obstacle or as a threat. But I took it in. I embraced it as an amazing opportunity to reinvent ourselves, because we did not have, luckily, 16,000 employees in the workforce, like the Carlson, Back and Lee, the Amex Business Travel, the Booking.coms, who completely killed their organizations in those years. So we had to do some layoffs, of course, and reduce the burn. But we were in a position where we could reduce, we could go back into the workshop and come out. And we came out in 23, I would say, 24 really, and since then it's just going up. The last year we've grown 600%, and we don't see any decline. There is a huge appetite for a better, more seamless, and a more green way of doing your business travel.
You've been vocal about sustainable aviation fuel. So what is it? People may not be familiar with what it is. Can you break down what it is and why it matters, and what's holding back large-scale adoption?
Yeah. 99.8 of all flights today is powered by kerosene, so fossil jet fuel. There are alternatives out there. Yes, we can look into hydrogen-powered airplanes or electric airplanes on shorter distances, but really thinking that we will discard the hundreds of thousands of existing airplanes and infrastructure, airport infrastructure, refueling infrastructure, et cetera, is completely unheard of. So we need to find ways of improving what we have. And what we have is sustainable aviation fuel. Today, mostly in the form of HEFA.
What is it?
Well, sustainable aviation fuel is a jet fuel where the source does not come from kerosene oil. It can come from reused cooking oil or biomass or other origins or other sources. And you can refine it and you can make it into a powerful jet fuel that can power an airplane. And you can use it as a drop-in solution. So you can use it along with kerosene, or now we have examples of flights being flown 100% on SAF. So there's no safety risk either. So basically you can use it in existing airplanes, and that's the magic bullet, right?
So it's the same fuel you can use, and you don't have to change anything to use it.
You don't need to change anything. The initial issues with the first generations was that kerosene jet fuel has more lubricant from the oil, but now in generation 3 and 4 SAF, they've found ways of going about that. So you can basically use it in the existing airplanes. Obviously, and fair enough. There's been some criticism around the sustainable aviation fuel that comes from crops, because those crops could potentially be fed to humans. So, are you enabling the rich to fly on?
Well, I mean, that's a problem, right? By 2050, you have to double the food supply, and you can increase the number of cattle because 26% of the pollution is methane gas from cows. So we got to double it. And when you talk about things like plant-based protein, it's a challenge, right? And that, Christian, it's a bigger picture, right? That's the problem. We got 8.1 billion people on the planet, estimated to be 13 billion by the end of the century.
And that, Gary, sorry to interrupt you, but that speaks into the whole concept of burden shifting. You solve aviation's issue by producing vast amounts of crop-based or bio-based jet fuel, and then we can fly on that. But what happens with other industries then? So that it's a totally fair argument. I think, from my point of view, sustainable aviation fuel in the long run will not come from crops. It will come from synthetic fuels, e-fuels, basically using green energy to turn it into hydrogen, to turn it into jet fuel that you can then use in airplanes. But with the the challenges around the IRA in the US and also European green energy projects slowing down, then the horizon for excess amount of green energy is not looking that well.
No, and that's the problem, right? Because it's like electric cars. You have electric cars, but you have fossil fuel powered plants generating the electricity. It's kind of crazy, right? Sometimes we forget where this stuff's coming from, and when you got 8.1 billion people going to 13, and you got less land, and you got global warming, right? I'm sure you're experiencing it in Copenhagen.
Yeah,
it's a problem, right? The average temperatures around the world could be up 15 degrees Fahrenheit by the end of this century. People don't get it. Like the Arctic slope and Greenland are melting, and once those melt, the average sea levels will go up 198 feet. It's serious stuff, right? By the end of this century, it's estimated to be up as high as 16 feet sea level. Yeah. And what happens in Copenhagen? And I spoke twice at the UN, so just FYI, and I had on my show one of the guys that was a lead author of the Nobel Prize. I think it was 2007, and we were talking about this stuff, and it's concerning because if we don't take a holistic approach to. I agree with you, cooking fuel and all that, but now you've got a whole other set of issues. You got 5 billion more people on the planet.
Yeah, but still, we need to just keep going. Because there is plenty of reason. I mean, right now, if we look at Europe, it's either droughts or floods, or, in France right now, they have a wildfire the size of Paris.
Well, in 1992, I was working on this problem, right? I worked with, there was a guy named Dr. Irving Crick. Irving Crick was a student of Albert Einstein. And he was 90-some years old, he was 79 years old when I worked with him the last time. And he did a nonlinear weather forecasting model. And algorithmic math model. And we're talking about global warming, but here's the other thing, Christian. The meridional shift is taking place. The Atlantic current is stopping, right? Mm-hmm. And it's because of the Gulf Stream. And it's reversing direction. People don't get it. Places like Copenhagen could drop, anywhere from 11 to 14 degrees Fahrenheit could drop in a 10-year period of time.
Yeah.
And that's the last time it happened was 12,000 years ago. The last time any kind of impact like this was done was the summer of 1816. It's called the year without the summer. Mm-hmm. So the only thing is, what I'm saying is we take a holistic approach to all this. How do we tie this together? I agree with you. The fossil fuels, it's a problem. There's only so many people don't get it. These are dead animals and plants we're burning.
Yeah, exactly.
And people, you know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff out there. So we're burning these things. Yeah. There's only so much. We have such a wonderful, beautiful planet, but we're killing it.
Yeah, I fully agree. I fully agree. The problem is, it's everyone's problem, and therefore it's no one's problem. And therefore it's no one's problem. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's it. And the problem is we're here such a short period of time on this planet that we don't we're trying to live and take care of your kids, get them home, walk down the center of Copenhagen or whatever on the weekends and have fun and stop at the cafe and talk and have a glass of wine and all this stuff. But the problem is we're here such a short period of time. It's like, okay, well, they'll be next. That'll be my kids or my grandkids. You know what I mean? But it's unfortunate. This is a very serious problem.
But
You know,
but still, and I fully agree. And if I look at the tech scene, the broad, if I look broadly at the tech scene in Copenhagen or other capitals in Europe, what kind of companies are tech founders building? Not climate related, traditional tech companies still.
yeah,
So
well, they're building AI companies that are using electricity, right? And at the same, here's the problem, right? The problem is we have what we call infobesity, right? Think about it. In Christian's world, you about 300,000 items in your personal cloud. The entire web in 1996 was 257,000 websites. You, Christian, have more information in personal cloud than the entire web. The problem is Christian's world's following the same trajectory. By that, I mean doubling every year. In 5 years with the Internet of Things, you're going to have 10 million items. How many times in the last 2 weeks somebody said, hey, Christian, I sent you a message. Did you get it? Where did you send it? I sent it to your mail. Which one of the 7? I don't remember. Oh, no, it was WhatsApp or Telegram or WeChat or LinkedIn. Can you send it again? I can't find it. This obesity problem, we need these tools to help us. We need these superpowered, like ChatGPT 5 yesterday, right? These tools to be able to help us to solve the problems, but the tools actually use a lot of fuel, electricity.
Yeah.
And we're compounding our problem, but now we're at a point where we better figure it out real fast because nothing good's going to happen. When you start looking at we started modeling how the planet was going to look with the changes taking place. On one side, I told you the average temperatures are going to go down, right? This is the last time it happened was during the Ice Age because of Gulf Stream reversing. It's called the meridional shift. The problem is in places south of the equator could go up 30 degrees Fahrenheit. And so you got another set of issues, right? And so I get it. I mean, it's we got to use these technology that we have to help us to live longer life. It won't be a planet for your grandkids or mine. It won't be existing. You know what I mean? And nothing.
I fully agree. But the fact is, it's not on most people's radar. It's not on. It's on your radar for a split second when you watch the news, and then it's back to normal.
Because people don't want to hear negative stuff. They want to hear positive. They want to believe in their own life. There's positive things. We're going for a picnic. We're going out tobogganing or skiing, or we're going down Ibiza, that kind of stuff. They're so into. I agree with you. It's like crazy though, right? When you look at it from, on my show, I've done 1,400 of these podcasts, Christian. I've had some of the brightest people on the planet, on the world, the head of the quantum lab at Harvard, people like yourself, lead authors of Nobel, 4-star admirals, actresses, they're all concerned, right? And when I spoke at the UN, I jacked them up. I said, hey, listen, technology is a tool for peace. We better start using this because nothing good happens when we don't have enough food to feed people. What do you think is going to happen? When Mumbai's underwater in a few years because of global warming, what do you think is going to happen? Nothing good. Let's figure it out, And these things like wildfires, we're going to have more of it. We're going to have 250-mile-an-hour hurricanes, and they're currently category 5 is what, 150. Well, imagine when you get to 160, it's not that percent higher. It could be triple in terms of impact. Devastating. What happens when it's over 200, right? And it's going to happen in a place that never had them before. It's nuts. And so what you're doing is right. I like the piece, but what I'm saying is take a holistic approach to it and tie all these, I'm sure you speak German, right? Gestalt, the sum of the parts equal the whole, right? Everything needs to become one. And if we don't do that, nothing good happens. And that's the part, by the way, while we're going down through this right now, I have AI continuously sensing. I'm using multi-agent large language models, and it's coming up with things to talk to you about, right?
Okay.
It's listening, right? And it's asking me, so it just said to me, in your experience, what's more challenging, the technical side of reducing emissions or the human sides of changing travel behavior?
Fantastic. Well, it kind of goes together because the problem with travel is that most of the technology out there is limited by technical debt, because it's back to the old GDSs, the Amadeus, the Travel Purge Sabre from 50, 60 years ago. So to some extent, technical limitations have a huge impact on behavior. For instance, rail. We are one of the providers with the most rail coverage in Europe. The problem with Europe is that it's all these countries with their own national rail standards, and so we need to connect with each and every one of them. So to some extent, technology has a huge impact, but I would say it's the cognitive limitation. If you go to a company and you ask them, what's your yearly travel spend? We travel for $1 million. Okay, are you willing to pay 5% more to either offset or fly partially on SAF? Are you willing to set up travel policies so you enforce your employees to only fly business class if it's flights of more than 10 hours, or take the train if possible? In most cases,
I would say you can't fly business class at all.
Yeah, but
I mean, the thing is, why?
You would be surprised how many executives have it in their contract, even in 2025.
For what?
Yeah.
I mean, I freaking don't go out and fly business class, and it's crazy. Why go out when number one is waste the company's money, and number two is you're taking up 2 or 3 spots where we could reduce the footprint. It's crazy, but maybe they don't understand.
But they don't understand. In many cases, they don't understand. So one of the things that I have seen, just tying into today's title of the show, is how do you actually make it sell? Well, first of all, you have to accept that there is a low, in many cases, no willingness to pay. So you need to be able to just inject it into the solution and say, hey, we also built this amazing climate feature that helps you not just report on your emissions, but also decarbonize by having access to data and stuff like that. And you also need to understand that green simply is not enough. So you need to be better on all aspects of your product. If our travel platform or agent service or global coverage or payment solutions were inferior to our competitors, we would not win just because we're the furthest on sustainability. We simply wouldn't, which means that we need to finance both. We need to not just have great content and everything, but also continue to build out our position as the leader in sustainable travel. And then you need to insist to the extent where clients are like, well, okay, why is it important? And then you need to translate that into how does it actually make translates into value.
Well, either that or you put it on the ticket and say, this is how much more by doing this, right? This is how much more of an impact in a negative sense you're going to have on the planet Earth, and make them fully accountable for what they're doing and bring it to their attention, because nobody knows.
No. But then the question is, who's asking me to do it?
Well, I mean, the thing is, you got to go into the folks that have the airlines and get them to agree understand what the impact is, right? They just don't get it. People don't get it. I'm telling you. I spoke to the UN, and it's not that the people weren't really smart, but people don't get it. They don't understand that 198 feet sea level increase is possible. And nothing good is going to happen when that happens, because everything changes. Places are going to be wars, right? Yeah. When if you look at this, Christian, the summer of 1816, so there was an explosion in Mount Tambor, Indonesia. It sent volcanic gas around the entire planet Earth. Mm-hmm. It killed 200,000 people. But here's what it did. People from Northern Europe immigrated to the United States of America, right? Mm-hmm. They did it because there was no food. The crops died in July. It was snowing. Mm. They immigrated over. Well, the first year when it happened in 1816, the crops died. But what happens the second year? Because people ate all their animals. There was nothing left. There were riots. Riots. And so, as those migration, you can see the migration that took place when you start analyzing that weather. In fact, Mary Shelley wrote Frankenstein at Lord Byron's house on Lake Como. It was so creepy because it was a red hue around the world. That's a very small part of what the coming attraction. That's the part of one volcano creating a problem. But what happens when it's so cold, there's no crops are going to live, right? In July. And it happens just like the Ice Age over years. People went underground, 50 feet underground in places like Turkey just to live. We're pushing this planet to those ports. It's crazy. Some people don't understand global warming. They don't understand how much in 100 years the sea level is going up. You're there. I'm sure in Copenhagen people are talking about it because you can visibly see it.
Yeah.
I was down south of Fort Lauderdale, and I drove my convertible down there, and there was I can't think of the name of the moon. It was a king tide. A king tide came in. Basically flooded that island. It had never done. It was flooding the island that I was on with my car. It was creepy. There were cars that were, half of their doors were underwater because of the tide. It had never. I went to the guy and I said to him, there was a bar there, bar restaurant. I said, "What's going on here?" He said, "This has never happened. 10 years ago, this didn't happen." Right? It's happening so fast. It's insane. And again, the problem is we don't understand it. If we bring it to people's attention, I think, Christian, you're a great voice for this, right? Bring it to people's attention. Say to those executives, listen, you understand that you've used triple the amount. This is the impact on the planet Earth. We need your help. They would change, but they just don't know. Really don't know.
No, I agree. We need to significantly increase knowledge around climate change, and also explain to people that climate change does not mean slightly temperature increases. No, it means extreme weather. It means irreversible changes, reaching tipping points, and the only, my biggest concern is basically that we're on a trajectory where the only possible scenario for sustaining or creating an inhabitable planet is going to be some level of geoengineering, and that comes with completely unforeseen consequences because we don't know the consequences of whatever we try to do because the complexity in the ecosystems is so immense. So we need to sustain what we have, and that means we need to adapt and we need to accelerate all the green solutions out there in air travel, but basically across all industries. Most of it should come from strict regulation. And then, just look at the EU. The EU has introduced sustainable aviation mandates. So they're mandating European airlines to fly on a certain percentage of SAF in the coming years. But of course, European airlines and the EU as such is then worried about, are we reducing the competitiveness of European airlines versus Air China or US airlines coming to Europe? So it needs to be globally. It's not happening.
Just listen to what you said. So I used we built multi-agent large language models. I've been building them a long time, right? It just listened to what you said and it just came back. It's right now going through it. And here's what it just told me. It says, and it told me to tell you this, right? It says, make the data visible and relatable. Do carbon calculators, promote things like ICAO's carbon emission calculator or atmosphere so travelers can instantly see how much CO2 their flight emits. Visual comparisons show flight emissions compared to everyday activities. This flight equals heating your home for X months. Interactive maps display real-time global flight activity alongside estimated CO2 emissions. And it went down to, just when you just said that, by the way, it's fascinating actually for me. It's the most fascinating stuff I've ever seen. We have 14 large language models working as a team, right? And then it said, integrate the knowledge into the travel booking experiences. Encourage airlines and booking sites to display CO2 emissions per flight and search results. Green nudges, platforms could suggest train routes or direct flights, lower emissions where available. Offset options, provide credible, easy to purchase carbon offset programs at checkout.
All the things you said is something that we do already today. So if you're searching for a flight and rail is an alternative, that will pop up saying, don't book this flight, take the train instead, if possible. Also, verifiable, trustworthy CO2 calculations. We actually now just on the verge of working together with Google because they've just released an API where we can see real-time atmospherical data. so that you can take the contrails, the stripes after your airplane, into account, which also increases, doubles the negative impact of your flight. It's not just the CO2, it's also the small thin clouds that turn up to 10 to 12 kilometer wide clouds that increase this greenhouse gas effect.
It just said there's one thing we haven't done yet. It says gamify the awareness. Apps that track and score your carbon footprint with leaderboards. Offset badges. Airlines and booking platforms can award green traveler status for customers making lower impact choices, right? And the other thing is, you could like set up clubs and things, right? So it said there's another way that hasn't been done yet. I did, again, it's just listening to our conversation.
Fantastic. Inspiring.
Yeah, so these are kind of tools, but these things, Christian, here's the other thing, this gives you superpowers, right? So what if you created an app that had a didactic approach, so you could actually talk to it? It can actually talk to you directly about the status and help you to go down through to be able to plan the flight so you're reducing carbon emissions. Right? And the whole thing with sustainable fuels, I think that's fantastic. But what airlines are utilizing? If you would know, you would book it. I would pay 10%, 20% more to book an airline that's going to reduce the footprint, especially if you tell me, listen, this is enough that it could heat your house for 3 months or 2 months. That's what you're going to do for the planet. I would think about it, but we have to visualize what it's going to do, because people don't know. Well, we're going to reduce the fuel by 10%. I don't know what that means.
No. I mean, one of the things, without increasing price for the traveler, for either the consumer or the business traveler that we're serving, one of the things that we're doing is we're listing the airlines. We're showing which airlines actually fly most on SAF, because one of the issues we have in the EU with the Anti-Greenwashing Act, which actually comes from a good place, because a lot of companies were saying stuff that didn't hold through. But it limits an airline like KLM Air France, which actually I believe they consume around 20% of all airline SAF available, but they're not able to communicate about it.
Why?
Because of the EU Anti-Greenwashing Act. Because if you start to communicate that you're an airline that consumes more SAF than other airlines, are you then communicating or portraying your service, flying, aviation, as a climate-friendly solution? That's what they're worried about, and that's what they've been.
What is a climate-friendly? If it is climate-friendly, it is. Why would they?
I would say it's not climate-friendly, but it's less harmful, and
less harmful. And then why don't you have things like a badge for green traveler status that says, "Hey, listen," and then give them some rewards for it, right? Turn it into something. Give them points to go into a club. That would be simple. Could give them points to go into a club. People would do it.
Yeah,
they're just as crazy about the business traveler stuff as the clubs. You know what I mean? Sure. And do something like that, or have a green traveler club where they got or a vegetarian food, good food, organic food.
Yeah.
Come in, hey, listen, we can help you out. Come in. We've got this selection. Wouldn't cost a lot of money, but sure would. You got to drive the behavior someplace. Drive it to make them feel it. I hear you. I think what you're doing is right. And the key is, you're like a Ferrari in the garage, though. You got to get the Ferrari out. And it just told me some of that stuff too, by the way. It just told me, it said, it said the public awareness, it was talking about a full public awareness campaign that combines social media content, corporate partnerships, educational resources, interactive tool that could be rolled out globally to make an impact rather than a niche one. And it asked me if I wanted that wanted it to write it for me right now.
Fantastic. But Gary, one thing is the bottom up. That's what we're discussing now, bonus points or leaderboards or whatever. At the end of the day, it has to come from the leadership. It has to come from the companies that say, we are choosing good wings because we want to make sure that our business travel is less harmful than what it used to be. And we're taking steps to go, from business class to economy, from flying to rail, or stop doing trips that are unnecessary. You would have, just one of the metrics that we released recently in the dashboard is like trip frequency per month, per individual, per team, or,
Yeah, but
And
the
that,
problem is they're giving them frequent flyer miles for traveling, and so they're encouraging the damn behavior.
yeah,
Give them double the miles if they fly less.
yeah,
Encourage them that way. Give them double the miles. You fly less, you're going to have a bonus of, another. You're going to get as many miles as if you flew the same. People would do it.
yeah, yeah. I agree.
But they're going for miles. It's nuts.
Yeah,
right?
it is.
You
It is.
encourage the behavior.
Yeah, but that's what we're up against, and that's why you need to combine, tech, content, seamlessness, user friendliness with communication, and you need to make incentives, and you need to communicate climate science. You need to translate it or dumb it down, so you basically explain it to an executive who's in a hurry. And how does this add value? How do I communicate this in my non-financial reporting or in my next LinkedIn post?
Yeah, no, I got it. I mean, but that can be done because I'm doing it right now where we're having this conversation.
I know.
Language. And so we could use those tools. You could, right? Those are some of the things you want to think about, because they can go down through, and it's got all the knowledge of the planet Earth, literally, that can go down through and help. And when you put things like empathy and compassion in the models, right, and tell it what the goals are, it'll start to go down through and it starts to create it. And then awareness. I think the biggest thing is awareness, honestly. And we're reinforcing the wrong behavior. Get the thing with the frequent flyer programs. Talk to people about that. Change the model, right, on the flyer programs. I'm afraid it's going to write that up right now. It's actually going down through and telling me how to design a frequent flyer. I'm serious. It's crazy.
Fantastic. Send me the notes. Send me the notes.
If you want, I'll send it over to you. Yeah,
please do.
Look at this stuff, and it's unbelievable, actually. So, but these are the kind of tools we need to use. Christian, seriously, these tools, these frontier technology tools that make us aware and it really hyper personalized for each one of them are going to be critically important for every part of our life, every single part. I had stage 3 kidney disease last year. I went down through and used my large language model. The doctor said it couldn't be fixed. I went down and used a large language model, and it told me mesenchymal stem cells done from an umbilical cord. A woman delivers, she has umbilical cord, it's medical waste, done from umbilical cord, could get rid of this, right? And so within 2 weeks, it identified a doctor in Thailand. There was Harvard, Princeton, MIT, Yale trained doctors. I went over, I completely eliminated my stage 3 kidney disease. All my back pain went out, all the wrinkles went out of my face, right?
Wow.
I can ride a bike, and I rode my bike 79 miles, right? I couldn't do that before that. And I had it done 10. Again, I'm only one of 700 ever done twice, right? Ever. This thing, the youth technologies are out there too. We just don't know what we don't know because there's too much data, too much infobesity. It's not that people don't want to make this world a better place, Christian, if they don't know. If you put it out there and say, listen, this is what your flight means. And oh, by the way, your house, it's in Harrisonburg, Virginia. This could heat it for 4 months. Just based upon this fuel that was used, why not save it? And you relate it back to them, they're going to do it, seriously. And this isn't for you, it's for your kids. And then it knows that you have 2 kids, and it starts to talk about it and bring it home, make it personal. Seriously, people will do it. We have it. And it's going down through and writing it up right now. So it's starting to talk about that stuff right this second. So now it's doing that, right? I created my own digital twin.
Amazing.
So my digital twin's out there, and now we're going down through and taking it up a couple levels, right? So it's it's like an oracle. In fact, if the Greeks would have had these, I mean, you can imagine today going into a facility and behind the curtains, you've got the oracle, and it's literally has all the knowledge. It's not done.
Yeah, no, I know.
It's not a couple people making it up. It's like the real stuff, right? Do this, do that. But your mission is right. I feel that your heart's in it. It's great to get it out, but I'm telling you, connect the dots on this thing, and from my perspective, and get it out there, make it personal. Because when people feel it, they'll make the change. It's not about you, it's about your kids, right? Yeah,
exactly.
And make it a world a better place. So if you want to talk for a few minutes.
I do. Let's hang out.
So, okay. Anyhow, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. Closing thoughts, and how do people get a hold of you, Christian?
Reach out to me either directly on LinkedIn or go to goodwings.com, connect with us, and let's see what we can do for you and your company.
I appreciate it. Thanks for taking time of your busy schedule to join us. And thanks to all
My
my
pleasure.
for joining one more time. GSD presents Top Global Startups. My name is Gary Fowler, and I'm your host. Stay happy, stay safe, and stay healthy. We'll be back again soon with another exciting edition. Have a great weekend and enjoy yourself. Thanks, everybody.